hide them so Nicole doesn't use them.
I know, I was just thinking the same thing. I was like, Rex
These
is
in my
gonna want these,
office.
and I'm not
I
gonna
bet
give them.
Mike could get you more.
Really?
If you guys think your spouses are gonna take them, yes.
This is nicer than the gloves that we had, our work
I was
gloves that we
gonna
have at
say,
home.
I just bought some cheap ones.
Yeah, ours is
that were like
usually like
$2.99.
Yeah, pack of 5 for $5.
I mean, mine don't feel pretty solid already.
I try to carry up everything at once.
Are they in the order?
I'm sorry, do you need any more? I'm sorry, do you need more respect? I mean, did you want to spread anything else? I mean, let me know.
They are nice. We were commenting on them at the last meeting.
Like, what are you doing?
Like this is nice. I was thinking about maybe going back to the office.
Trying to absolve ourselves of the guilt of taking an extra 3 years to get.
All right.
Well, I thought if you left it on the goal center, it should have been an easy check. High marks for Matt this year review. We got the chairs.
All right.
I could have taken care of it earlier, but I knew it was going to be on the goal center.
Are we ready? I mean, you
Not
know,
that ready.
I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. It is 1 o'clock, time for our regularly scheduled commission meeting. Madam Clerk, do we have a quorum?
Yes, ma'am.
Today's prayer is Commissioner Cessna, but not sure where he is. So he he had to step out for a minute, so we'll go ahead and we'll just do the pledge and he'll come in. So please stand. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, please watch over us during our meeting to help lead and guide our discussion and thought processes to move our community forward in a positive direction. Please watch over our first responders as they are out trying to take care and protect and keep peace in our community. We thank you for the recent moisture that you have provided us and to nourish our lands. We just pray that you give us more moisture to help all of our crops and our lawns green up. We ask again for wisdom and guidance as we move forward in our discussions today. In this we pray, amen.
Amen.
Next is the minutes of the last commission meeting. Were there any changes or corrections that anyone noticed?
We had some people missing, but no, it really wasn't.
Yeah.
Right?
Nope.
All right, they stand approved. Next up is public comment. This is a time for somebody to come up and talk about anything that is not on the agenda. Please state your name if you do come up, and you'll be given 5 minutes.
It's always me, isn't it?
Always you. But that's good. We like that.
So, good morning, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Beth Coxel, and I'm the Director of Community Health at the Finney County Community Health Coalition. So last month, you guys approved some AFAC prevention grants, including ours from Lidwell Finney County, and we were able to use those funds to purchase life-saving naloxone with this funding. So this is actually some of the naloxone that we purchased. And naloxone is used along with emergency medical treatment to reverse the life-threatening effects of a known or suspected opioid overdose in adults and children. And anyone can be trained to administer naloxone. And if you know of someone or an organization interested in this training, we'd be happy to help them in getting that fulfilled. Working with our opioid task force members, we've been able to identify several opportunities to get this naloxone into the hands of those individuals most at risk for opioid overdose, and those individuals that are unable to obtain naloxone through the Kansas Naloxone Program. So currently that program, you get on the website, it's all in English. They send you out to your home, a box similar to this one. So really, you have to speak English and you have to have a house to be able to get it. So if you know of someone in need of naloxone, feel free to send them our way. I brought some of our cards too, if you guys don't have any of those, that list the symptoms of overdose along with opportunities for treatment here in Finney County. And then I do want to ask you to save the date of July 19th for our Finney County Opioid Conference. So we have a good set of speakers that will be at the high school that day to provide information on the latest news regarding opioids in not only our community, but Kansas and the United States.
All right. Great, thank you so much.
All right, I'll just leave.
If you can just give the, to Ceylin, and she'll pass them down.
Thanks,
to us.
Beth.
Anyone else? All right.
Mayor and Commissioners, item 6A, we did amend the packet this morning. This is the amended item that we added. The governing body is asked to consider and approve a request from Eric Sienatiempo on behalf of the Appliance and Furniture Mart for a waiver to the parking requirements and temporary structure requirements to allow for a tent for May 13th through the 21st at the store location 1117 Fleming Street. This is to hold a tent and sidewalk sale.
And we've done this before for them.
Okay.
I move to approve the waiver for parking requirements in the temporary structure.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Item B, the governing body is asked to consider and approve allowing the mayor to proclaim April 30th through May 6, 2023 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week in Garden City, Kansas.
I'll make the motion. We approve the proclamation as presented.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. And do you want me to read that now?
Or you can have a special event in Ceylon's office.
Or we can read it and gather around Ceylon.
Yes.
I'll go ahead and I'll read it. Whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels, and whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all, and whereas the professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community, and whereas professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the professional municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organization. Whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the professional municipal clerk. Now therefore, I, Deborah Euler, Mayor of the City of Garden City, do hereby proclaim April 30th through May 6th, 2023 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week in the City of Garden City, and encourage all citizens to extend appreciation to all professional municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. Signed and sealed the second day of May 2023. And we do appreciate everything that you do for us. Thank you.
I think you should get a picture.
And we should get a picture, and I'd like to get one with all of us down there.
And Corey.
And, yes, Corey, you can.
Item 6C, the governing body is asked to consider and approve allowing the mayor to proclaim the week of May 7th through 13th, 2023 as Drinking Water Week in Garden City, Kansas.
I'll make the motion. We approve the proclamation as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And I'm guessing it's
And Fred, do you
Fred?
have an event that this is going to get read out, or should we read it here and do the picture here?
That would be appropriate.
Okay.
All right.
Top of a water tower.
So whereas water is our most valuable natural resource, and whereas drinking water serves a vital role in daily life, serving an essential purpose to health, hydration, and hygiene needs for the quality of life our citizens enjoy, and whereas tap water delivers public health protection, fire protection, support for our economy, and the quality of life we enjoy, and whereas the hard work performed by the entire water sector, designing capital projects, operators ensuring the safety and quality of drinking water, or a member of a distribution crew maintaining the infrastructure communities rely on to transport high-quality drinking water from its source to consumer taps, and whereas recent events such as the pandemic has shone a light on the importance of drinking water for health, hydration, and hygiene needs, and whereas we are all stewards of the water infrastructure upon which current and future generations depend, and whereas the citizens of our city are called upon to help protect our source waters from pollution, practice water conservation, and foster an awareness of our precious resource. Now therefore be it resolved that by virtue of the authority invested in me as mayor of Garden City, Kansas, I, Deborah Euler, proclaim May 7th through 13th as Drinking Water Week in the city of Garden City, and encourage the citizens of Garden City to seek information about their water supply and its role in the community. Signed and sealed the second day of May 2023. And I'm guessing a picture, right? Or, okay.
And crew.
Item 60, the governing body is asked to consider approve allowing the mayor to proclaim May 14th through 20th as National Police Week in Garden City. And I believe there's, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I move to approve the proclamation as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And I know that, motion carries. And I know that there is an event on May 15th, but would you guys like to come up and say anything?
Good afternoon. Yes, Courtney, he's in training right now, so I'm covered for him. Yes, May 15th at noon, we will do our police memorial that we do every year, a little ceremony to honor the fallen, and you are all welcome to attend. It doesn't take long, and it's very respectful, good ceremony.
Very nice.
Yes.
Now, do you want to, because you've got people you want a picture with?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. They all look so excited. Aaron, you be in the picture.
You've got to get his thumbs.
I'll read this.
Item E, the governing body is asked to consider and approve a request to allow the mayor to proclaim the week of May 21st through 27th as National Public Works Week in Garden City, Kansas.
I'll make the motion we approve the proclamation as presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And Yep, I can certainly, unless you want to talk
I
first.
just have a little.
Okay,
bit here.
yeah.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm Tyler Patterson, Public Works and Operations Manager. So Public Works is made up of 5 different departments. We've got street, traffic, solid waste, recycling, and fleet, with a total of 42 full-time employees. The street department is responsible for maintaining over 163 linear center lane miles of streets, mowing, spring and fall cleanup, alleyways, and keeping the streets clear during snow and ice events. Traffic maintains 30 city-owned traffic signals, painting of all street markings and crosswalks, hanging the downtown banners, and assists with every parade event each year. Our solid waste department ensures trash pickup for over 6,200 residential and commercial containers throughout the year, and with recycling collecting products from several businesses in town, having an average of 583 tons of recyclable material each year. This wouldn't be possible without our fleet department that services and repairs around 520 different city-owned vehicles and equipment, ranging from chainsaws to lawnmowers, bucket trucks, police cruisers, and front end loaders. All of this is being kept in order by our administrative office staff that handles all project tracking, invoices, phone calls, emails, walk-ins, and much more, striving to provide excellent service each day. And with that, we would like to invite each of you to our Public Works Touch a Truck event, which is going to be at 1210 Fleming Street. That's the old Ace Hardware parking lot, just north of the theater there. And that's on Saturday, May 20th from 10 to 2 p.m. We'll have several different trucks and equipment along with some games and stuff for the kids. So, yeah.
All right.
With that, I think we'll take a picture as well.
Okay, I'll go ahead and I'll read this, and then, yeah, we can definitely get a picture. So whereas Public Works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, emergency management, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of people of Garden City, and whereas these infrastructures, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of Public Works professionals who are federally mandated first responders and the engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens, and whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in Garden City to gain knowledge and maintain ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works, first responders, and public works programs in their respective communities, and whereas the year 2023 marks the 63rd annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association, Canadian Public Works Association. Be it now, therefore, I, Deborah Euler, Mayor of the City of Garden City, do hereby proclaim the week of May 21st, 2023 as Public Works Week in the City of Garden City, and urge all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and quality of life. Signed and sealed the second day of May, 2023.
Tim, you're going to be seen in the picture. I wore the right shirt. I wore the right shirt.
Do you want me to get in there, Tim?
There you go.
Item F, the governing body is asked to consider and proclaim May 2023 as Building Safety Month. The Southwest Kansas Builders Association and the International Code Council Heart of America chapter in joint effort will be promoting the month of May as Building Safety Month.
I'll make the motion we approve the proclamation as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries.
Mayor, Commissioner, Harry Castuin, Trent, Director of Neighborhood and Development Services. On behalf of not only the city and our ICC community for building officials and inspectors, also here representing the Southwest Kansas Builders Association, there have been some accidents in our area. As of recently, we are doing a proactive training event that will probably announce at a later date when we get that defined. But not seeing any of the other board members here is not that they don't care, they do. I got a lot of responses to work, but they're trying to meet your goals of over 4,000 units. So they're
out building.
and selling these homes. So with that, that's all my comments, but I appreciate your time and this proclamation.
All right. I'll go ahead and I'll read this. Whereas Garden City is committed to recognizing that our growth and strength depends on the safety and essential roles our homes, buildings, and infrastructure play, both in everyday life and when disaster strikes. And whereas our confidence in the resilience of these buildings that make up our community is achieved through the devotion of vigilant guardians, building safety and fire prevention officials, architects, engineers, buildings, tradespeople, design professionals, laborers, plumbers, and others in the construction industry who work year-round to ensure the safe construction of buildings. And whereas these guardians are dedicated members of the International Code Council, a nonprofit that brings together local, state, territorial, tribal, and federal officials who are experts in the built environment to create and implement the highest quality codes to protect us in the buildings where we live, learn, work, and play. And whereas these modern building codes include safeguards to protect the public from hazards such as snowstorms, tornadoes, hailstorms, and floods, and whereas Building Safety Month is sponsored by the International Code Council to remind the public about the critical role of our community's largely unknown protectors of public safety, our local code officials, who assure us of safe, sustainable, and affordable buildings that are essential to our prosperity. And whereas Safety for All, Building Codes in Action, the theme for Building Safety Month 2023, encourages us all to raise awareness about planning for safe and sustainable construction, career opportunities in building safety, understanding disaster mitigation, energy conservation, and creating a safe and abundant water supply to all of our benefit. And whereas each year, in observance of Building Safety Month, people all over the world are asked to consider the commitment to improve building safety, resilience, and economic investment at home and in the community, and to acknowledge the essential service provided to all of us by local and state building departments, fire prevention bureaus, and federal agencies in protecting lives and property. Now, therefore, I, Deborah Euler, Mayor of the City of Garden City, do hereby proclaim May 2023 as Building Safety Month in the City of Garden City and encourage all citizens to join us as we participate in Building Safety Month activities. Signed and sealed the second day of May 2023.
Go get it.
Take a picture of Trent.
Okay, sure. I'll be the single.
While I steps.
Thank you, guys.
My workout said I'm finished.
2,000 steps.
Item 7A, congratulations to Water Superintendent Tony Hurtado, Generation VFD Specialist Bob Ariano, and Electric Foreman Junior Salinas on the occasion of receiving the Award of Excellence in each of their respective disciplines at the 2023 Kansas Municipal Utilities Annual Conference held on April 27th in Wichita, Kansas. And I believe we have from the Kansas Municipal Utilities Group, Greg Dumars. Greg, do you want to come on up and talk a little bit about these awards?
Be happy to, thank you. Mayor, Commissioners, thanks for the opportunity to be here today. I'm Greg Dumars with Kansas Municipal Utilities, a statewide association representing electric, water, wastewater, natural gas, and broadband utilities across the state of Kansas, providing advocacy and also workforce development and training services for member utilities. It is my pleasure today to recognize 3 of your utility employees for their outstanding service. KMU has awards of excellence, as Matt said, in areas of discipline. First, I would like to recognize Bob Ariano for Power Plant Operator Award of Excellence. This is presented to the power plant operator or maintenance technician who best exemplifies the core values of their community and their craft. The nominee criteria include a demonstrated commitment to improving the lives of their community members, striving to achieve excellence in their technical field, and act as a mentor for their peers and others. A little bit about Bob. During his tenure here, he's a senior operator at the Jameson Energy Center. He has demonstrated the values and skillfulness that are second to none. His commitment to the community has been awe-inspiring and an immense influence for his colleagues. He helps so many people in the organization, ranging from small electrical issues to coordinating events. You'll always see Bob at Boo at the Zoo, Food Truck Fridays, Fall Fest, and many other community events, helping to ensure that all the cords for all the vendors are properly placed. He has been recognized numerous times for safety awards and goes above and beyond on his time outside of work as well. Bob volunteers his spare time to the nonprofit Real Men, Real Leaders Association, and his dedication to the organization is a true example or a true reflection of the kind of person Bob is. Congratulations, Bob. Should have warned me. Next is the Water Operator Award of Excellence. The Water Operator Award of Excellence is presented to the water operator who best exemplifies the core values of the community and their craft. The nominee criteria include a demonstrated commitment to improving the lives of their community members, striving to achieve excellence in their technical field, and act as a mentor for their peers and others. The Operator or Water Operator Award of Excellence was presented to Tony Hurtado. Tony actually started in the electric department in 2012, but moved to the water department as superintendent in 2013. He was moved there due to his organizational skills. Tony quickly identified issues and aligned the personnel and resources to accomplish the goals of the department. In his 10-year tenure with the city, he has been instrumental in improving staff retention at the department. In fact, as a result of his leadership, of the 11 operators, 9 of them are certified. 6 of those are Class 4, 1 of those is a Class 3, and 2 are a Class 1. The remaining 2 are not certified at this time because they're not eligible to be certified yet. But I'm sure under Tony's leadership they will be. Tony has worked to adopt new technology with the city water supply, including working to install real-time groundwater level monitoring when wells are, groundwater technology, including working to install real-time groundwater level monitoring when wells are serviced or reconstructed. These transducers reduce the provide valuable information for water operators to troubleshoot or identify water supply issues. He has also implemented a mobile field work order system adopted by the Public Utility Warehouse to track, not detract, but detract, department labor and materials utilizing the mobile devices. This has also been further modified to be the lead service line inventory and collecting the data for coordinating that inventory system. In fact, to date, over 40% of the initial physical observation of the external infrastructure for lead service line inventory has been completed. Tony has also embraced the culture or the development of a safety culture within the department using the American Water Works Association safety curriculum to conduct weekly safety meetings, daily tailgate meetings, and daily stretching, improving the department's safety record. Congratulations to Tony.
Was that a tailgate with food? 'Cause
The last to be recognized is Junior Salinas, who is not here today, but still would like to recognize him with the Line Worker Award of Excellence. The criteria include a demonstrated commitment to improving the lives of their community members, striving to achieve excellence in their technical field, and act as a mentor for their peers and others. Junior is a foreman with the electric distribution utility here in Garden City, where he's worked for over 23 years, creating a positive culture and ensuring that all employees have the same opportunity to succeed in their field. His work ethic is in a class of its own, which has earned him numerous safety awards and recognition. He has helped resolve a vast number of issues and obstacles throughout the course of his employment. He has received many thank you cards from the public regarding how well the crew was managed and performed their duties. This is all evidence that his leadership influences everyone around him to do their very best. Congratulations, Junior.
Actually, Junior and Ken are at another conference receiving an award for the RP3 recognition and the Award of Excellence on System Reliability. So,
Wow,
and
that's great.
All three of them represented the city extremely professional at the conference. Some of the other members were a little miffed that we took all the awards.
That's okay.
That's all right. Congratulations to all of you. That's great. Thank you.
Item 7B, Administrative Services Supervisor Casey Quintana provided an update on the Base 2 grant application and update on the award status. The city was unsuccessful in its second submittal of the base grant, Building a Stronger Economy, and we attached a letter of notification. We were disappointed, to say the least. We thought we had a competitive project. And we're doing some background, kind of backgrounding on what could have potentially improved our competitive edge, I guess, in future applications. So we've got some of our folks in Topeka that do some work for us, maybe background in that a little bit to see if there was anything in there that we could improve upon. Item C, Assistant City Manager Burke will provide an update, or will provide an update regarding the request from Mr. Janasek to discharge fireworks at the Airport Raceway from April 4th, 2023 Commission meeting.
Hi, good afternoon, Mayor and Commission. I wanted to provide a quick update since you all received public comment during that meeting regarding fireworks at the Raceway. So we've done a little bit of digging into that, and the short version is in order to do that, there are requirements that have to be met at the federal level, the state level, and the local level in order to have that be something that they are able to provide. So due to the proximity of the Raceway to the Garden City Regional Airport, there are additional requirements that must be met to maintain our compliance with FAA regulations, all of our current zoning, current ordinances, and the existing lease agreement. The Airport Raceway would also have to complete an airspace evaluation to review, that would require review from the FAA to have a public display. And I learned a whole lot about this, but depending on whether they use commercial grade or consumer grade fireworks, there's additional requirements at the state level related to licensure and what that looks like. Then finally, at the local level, the city requires a site plan that outlines a number of kind of the safety precautions, where the fireworks are anticipated to be lit, what the fallout zone is. A lot of those things are included in that site plan. Proof of liability insurance. And so given the number of criteria that are required, it would also require a waiver of ordinance to discharge fireworks as well. So staff met with Mr. Janasek on April 20th to kind of walk through all of these requirements, just so that they are aware of kind of what it would take to have fireworks located at that facility. So we wanted to give you an update of that as well. So happy to answer any questions you all may have.
Well, thanks for following up on that.
Yeah, thank you.
Is he still planning on going with all of the recommendations, or
I'm not sure. There are quite a few hoops.
Yeah, I was going to say that sounds like a lot of hoops. Okay.
So I think the initial one that they wanted to do was in the month of May, and I would suspect all of those hoops will not be able to be jumped through by that initial date, but I'm not sure about that.
Sounds like quite a process. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Item 7D, the city received a generous grant award from the Finnip Foundation Trust for 2023. In total, Finnip Foundation Trust provided $146,000. These funds will be used to help with projects at Finnip Park and Lee Richardson Zoo, as well as help underwrite other park initiatives at the city's discretion. So we certainly thank the Finnip Foundation for their generosity. We have items E and F, which are staff reports. Do you have any questions on those? All right. Call your attention to the meetings of note. I don't think any of those things require RSVPs. Unless you want to attend the breakfast, let Sealand know so we can appropriate our tickets accordingly. The next item would be item 12A. The governing body is asked to consider and approve, I skipped over the appropriation ordinance. I think we're ready for that. 9A, if approved, it would be appropriation ordinance number 2578-2023A.
I'll make a motion that we approve appropriation ordinance number 2578-2023A.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 12A, the governing body is asked to consider and approve a 10-foot wide private easement for a natural gas pipeline. Mike? Or someone else?
No,
He's coming.
Yes. Back on October 4th of 22, the governing body authorized Black Hills Energy
to install a natural gas pipeline on city property. The 10-foot wide easement is located south of US Highway 50 along the drainage ditch 1, which we refer to as DD1, to the right-of-way that runs generally to the southeast direction towards the Jenny Barker Road. The purpose of this gas line was installed to serve the Empirical Foods project. So if you approve this today, we'll have the mayor sign it, and it'll go to the Finney County Register of Deeds and become a legal document. So the alternatives would be the governing body may authorize the mayor to sign the private natural gas line easement agreement and record it at the Finney County Registers of Deeds, or do not authorize the mayor to sign that document. Staff recommends the governing body authorize the mayor to sign the private natural gas easement agreement and have it recorded at the Finney County Register of Deeds. And there's no financial impact to the city to do this. Happy to answer any questions.
I move that the governing body authorize the mayor to sign the private natural gas line easement agreement and record it with the Finney County Register of Deeds. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item B is going to require us to dial somebody in. Is this Julian? Hi, Julian. This is Matt Allen. I'm the city manager for the City of Garden City. We're live in a city commission meeting and getting ready to read in your agenda item.
Wonderful.
Okay, if you'll just hold a second, and I'll give you an opportunity to provide comment if you want it.
I'll let you know first.
Okay, all right. This is the governing body's asked to consider and approve the purchase and installation proposal of playground equipment for Southeast Community Park. Nolan?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Like Matt said, I'm Nolan Till, Park Superintendent. Little background, the Southeast Park Playground will provide a day-use destination for residents of Garden City and the surrounding region. This all-inclusive destination playground is intended to be unique to Garden City by creating play experiences for kids of all ages and abilities to play together in a cohesive space. During the community engagement process, adventure and landform play were the two most selected play styles the community wanted to see in this playground. And the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board met Monday, April 24th, 2023, and reviewed the proposals. The two playground proposals, only two playground proposals met all of our requirements. That was Versus Sport and APCO LLC. Both both proposals took advantage of proposed play hill by adding slides and other climbing features on the elements. Also, I don't know if you want to use the background material, Matt. They want to see the pictures. But with a major focus on inclusive play for this, Versus Sport and APCO also included elements to allow for mobility issues and access to the playground, kids with cognitive challenges to be included, and a wide range of tactile play such as elements, inclusive slides, and sensory domes. So there's three alternatives. First one, accept the proposal for Versus Sport, which is $218,233. Alternative two, accept proposal for APCO LLC, which is $243,025. And third one would be direction from the governing body. Recommendation, the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board recommended the governing body accept proposal from Versus Sport for $218,233. The fiscal note, Southeast Community Park project is funded through the 2020 and 2021 GO bonds. Total budget amount of $2,531,303.86 has been allocated to the project, consisting of $1,099,547.52 from the 2020 GO bond fund, which is Fund 43. And then $1,431,756.34 from the 2021 GO Bond Fund, which is Fund 44. As of April 23rd, 2023, the remaining balance of the 2020 GO Bond allocation is $307,363.46, and the full balance of $1,431,756.34 remains of the 2021 GO Bond funds. The project costs will first be expensed utilizing the funds remaining in Fund 43 before utilizing the funds in Fund 44. The full cost of the playground equipment bid presented in this item will be expensed to the remaining balance of $307,363.46. There's an extra 6 in there. Fund 43, maybe round up 47 cents. But I'll let Julian answer maybe any questions you may have, or maybe I can answer them as well.
I don't have any questions. I did have to go check a couple of times to make sure that that is the low bid, because when I was looking at the two proposals, that one looks more impressive than, than the other one that came in higher. So.
Yeah.
So when do you anticipate, Nolan, that they'll be able to, I mean, I know that a lot of things have been delayed in installation, so sometimes that causes the price to be raised. So I'm curious about when do you anticipate this being installed? And then, I mean, is it going to be able to be ordered? Because I know that's been a big issue with a lot of other equipment and things like this of this nature.
We discussed this a little bit. I don't know if Julian wants to get into a little more detail, but I think pending approval, hopefully he can communicate with the said company and kind of get the ball rolling. But Julian, do you have maybe a better timeline for the commissioners?
Yes, hi. So really quickly, I just want to introduce myself. I'm Julian Saban. I'm a designer with SWT Design out of Canyon City. Right now, the schedule is looking like that we could, most likely, we're trying to get this playground in the ground this year.
Wow.
Depending on your guys' selection for today, I'll be in contact with all vendors that we've gotten proposals from, but specifically the one that you are selecting. I'll reach out to them and we'll start coordinating kind of the final playground layout in which we will be sending CDs. We're hopefully getting to 100% CDs for the west side of the Southeast Park, which would be phase 4 of this in the coming weeks. So the idea would be we go out to bid kind of midsummer in hopes that we could get something in the ground this year.
That's a good deal.
That's
Nolan, can you
impressive.
talk a little bit about the ground, what that's going to be? Is it sod? Is it turf, or is it?
It's going to, I'll let you know.
Yeah, the playground surfacing, I know within the rendering is a little deceiving. We are intending the surface to be poured in place rubber, and then the hillside itself will be artificial turf, so it's a very tactile and resilient surface that will allow kids to run up and down. That artificial turf does not need to be mowed, so it is kind of a safety surfacing. That safety surfacing will meet all fall height requirements. But yes, the overall surfacing between the playground and the swing itself will be a poured-in-place rubber.
Yeah, right now our grass looks that green, but usually, so that's good to know.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
No, I just said right now our grass looks green like that, but it looks really nice. Thank you, Julian.
I'll make the motion we approve Verisport for the purchase of the playground equipment for $218,233.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Julian, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Item C, the governing body is asked to consider and approve the distribution of art grant funds as recommended by the Art Grant Committee. Danielle.
All right, good afternoon again, Mayor and Commissioners. The Art Grant Program was developed in 2012 as a formal process by which arts programs can request funding from the city. The Art Grant Committee member met a couple of weeks ago to review the applications for 2023, which we have $15,000 identified in the city budget for the Art Grant Program for this fiscal year. The city received 4 applications requesting a total of $18,100. The committee recommends awarding $15,000 to 4 applicants as outlined in the memo. And in the board conversations, they talked a lot about a desire to partially fund each of the agencies. And when going through, they considered the number of participants that each proposed project and event would impact as it was outlined. So to date, the board recognizes that they didn't recommend fully funding any of the agencies, but to date, none of the agencies had any concerns about being able to actually put on the programs that they identified and requested funds for. So with that, the applications are all attached. All 4 applications are in your packet. The alternatives before the governing body are to approve the Art Grant Committee's recommendation to award $15,000 to a total of 4 applicants. The governing body may alter those recommendations, or the governing body may not approve those and send it back to that committee for further review. The Art Grant Committee recommends the governing body approve the committee's recommendation to award $15,000 to a total of 4 applicants, and if approved, the fiscal note related to this is that the city of Garden City will expend $15,000 from the social funding line item in the general fund that was dedicated for this purpose. So with that, happy to answer any questions you may have.
I move that we approve the Art Grant Committee's recommendations to award the $15,000 to the 4 applicants.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Item 12D, the governing body is asked to consider and approve a pole attachment agreement with Ideatech Telecom LLC located in Buhler, Kansas.
Yes, good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Ideatech Telecom LLC currently has a franchise agreement with the City of Garden City to operate within the city right-of-ways and provide broadband communications services. At the time their franchise agreement was approved, they did not seek approval to attach to city poles or structures. Ideatech wishes to make the installations to provide broadband communication services via fiber optic cable to a greater portion of the City of Garden City. Their desire is to serve mainly in the residential areas, and granting them the authority to, to attach to the city-owned poles would make their installation more economical. In that process, once we go through that, we review their permits, and if there's any needed work to upgrade the pole or anything like that, Ideatech would be responsible to pay for that. Alternatives are the governing body may approve the pole attachment agreement and authorize the mayor to sign it. The governing body may not approve the pole attach agreement and direct staff to find an alternative. Staff recommends alternative 1 and allow the mayor to sign the pole attachment agreement, and there's no financial impact to the electric department by agreeing to sign this pole attachment agreement. If it is awarded, then Ideatech, once they start attaching the city structures, they're charged $7.50 per pole per year. And TJ Milford is the Western Kansas Operation Manager for Ideatech, and he or I are happy to answer any questions you may have.
I do have a question. It seems like most of the fiber is going underground. This is going above ground for cost mainly?
Excuse me, several of them, Cox, Pioneer, are putting some of their main runs
underground. Okay.
Ideatech has already put a lot of their main runs
Okay.
underground, but you can certainly talk about the overhead if you'd like.
Yeah, of course.
Come on.
You have to talk to the mic.
So most of our stuff, the backbone, like he said, is underground, and we try to keep all of our backbone underground if at all possible. But just mainly because of cost purposes, we try to go overhead. Most of the time on the line, we use a quick connect box that is spanned across and split down the alleys, and that's where it's split and goes to each house. We try to, as we're going along there, we're doing this in Liberal and Dodge City and some other towns. We try to help clean up some old wires because a lot of communication companies, if they unhook somebody, they just leave that old wire up there, and they come back the next month and hook them back up, and they leave the old one there. So we try to go through and help cut some of the old stuff down as we go too, just because I know how bad those alleys can get. So I don't know if that answers your question.
No, yeah, that does.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I had a question too. Well, it's not specifically. So are there other companies like yours, I mean, you know, or Mike, that if they would want to attach, that they could also attach to the pool, or is there any limitation? Because I don't know if this is something that's new that's coming out, that there are other people who are going to be more.
No, it's nothing new, Commissioner. Cox has a pole attachment agreement.
Okay.
We have a pole attachment agreement with AT&T. Wheaton Electric, the pole attachment agreement works on both sides of that. So it's nothing new. It's just the first one for Idea Tech to attach to the poles.
I did talk with Jonathan and Daniel yesterday, and they were pretty knowledgeable on the process, and they said that they would get with the city and coordinate some just notices of being disturbance to the residents out there. So just kind of an announcement that if there is an issue, they just assured us that they're willing to work with and just educate everybody on what's going on and the service that they're going to provide for the community. So it's a great opportunity for Idea Tech to come into the Garden City, and we appreciate their investment here. So
sure.
I want to make something clear too, that we've got a nice new door hanger that's bilingual or multi-language that we will be putting on all the doors. It's nice orange where you can see it from a long ways away. So we'll put that on all the doors where there's any construction, because we don't want anybody to not know that we're coming. Also, even though our home office is in Bueller, I live in Fowler. One of my right-hand man is in Cimarron. We have an installer in Sublette, so even though we're out of Bueller, we're a local company. We've got a branch out here, and I spend a couple days a week in Garden City just checking on things. So even though I don't oversee each project individually, I try to just keep track of everything. And we also have a QC guy that comes around to make sure everything's good to go. The dirt's cleaned up, sidewalks are back the way they're supposed to be, so on and so forth. So rest assured that we really take pride in our construction too. So, and if you don't mind, I would like to hand you all the card just so you have my information.
Sure, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you guys for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions?
I make the motion we approve the pole attachment agreement as presented.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
very much.
Item 12E, the governing body is asked to consider and approve an addendum to the existing master service agreement with Revere Healthcare Services to extend mental wellness services.
Good afternoon. At the June 7, 2022 City Commission meeting, the governing body approved an addendum to the master service agreement with Revere Healthcare Solutions to continue mental wellness services. The addition of mental wellness as a service provided by RHS has thus far been paid utilizing ARPA funds that the city has received. RHS staff and the city staff have met and reviewed the utilization of the mental wellness services provided by RHS, and utilization has continued to increase over time. You can see in the table listed that it's continued to tick up each month. The beginning of this year, we've been over 100 visits per month for that mental wellness service. At this time, RHS has requested a new addendum to the master service agreement be approved. The addendum provides 70 mental wellness visits per month to city staff at a monthly cost of $10,500, which would be $150 per visit. And then any excess visits to the 70 available will be provided at a per cost visit of $125. The addendum provides that if a particular month has less than the full 70 visits used, a credit would be provided to the city at a rate of $150 per visit that was originally paid, and it will be accounted for as a reduction in the monthly base fee for services provided by RHS. The addendum would take effect on July 1, 2023, which would be the day after the current addendum ends, and would be in effect for 12 consecutive months until June 30th, 2024. The total one-time cost of the addendum is $126,000. And you'll see that on the agreement itself, there's actually options for paying monthly, but we wouldn't have the retro coverage back of those visits. At this time, the city's recommend, you have two alternatives before you. The governing body may approve the addendum to the master service agreement with Revere Healthcare Services to continue mental wellness services, or the governing body may not approve the addendum. And staff recommends at this time that the governing body approve the addendum. From a fiscal note, the cost of mental wellness services was included in the allocation of ARPA funds in both 2021 and 2022. So the whole cost of this has been covered by that grant funding. The city has a remaining balance of $77,598 available in the general fund grants fund, including $29,702 remaining ARPA funds. The city can use these funds to pay a portion of the $126,000 annual cost, with the remaining balance to be paid from the health insurance fund. If the city desires to continue this service in 2024 and beyond, it is anticipated the cost would be expensed from the health insurance fund. This increased cost would require an increased contribution amount budgeted per employee beginning in 2024. So when we get to budgets a little later, I'll speak to this a little bit more, but we would do an analysis, and we're doing an analysis of what's the right number of visits to kind of put a cap. We've really left it open at this point to get that baseline, to understand what the usage would be for our staff. And so now that we have 2 years of data, the city will analyze what's the right amount to us to say, okay, we'll cap this at so many visits so that we don't have that excess keep creeping up where we have an unbudgeted amount in the health insurance fund that we can just not tap into. So we'll have a plan. We're coming back with that during the budget cycle, and probably before the next addendum would be entered into with Revere. But at this time, our recommendation is to continue the service as is, using those ARPA funds, and then subsidizing it with the health insurance fund.
So Jared, if we run out over those, so right now that no one's turned away, so no matter what, they're going to cover that. So in the future, do you anticipate capping it, and then they're just saying this is all that's available in order to control costs, or what are you anticipating?
It's the city's choice. So we pay the cost. Anything that goes over the 70, the city's paying in our monthly cost. So if the city chose to cap it, to say, hey, for a budgeting amount, we have to say we can't have this open-ended number, we would dictate that. The current practice has been that it's not capped. Employees can go and it's been planned. And the two factors we're looking at is one, what's the monthly utilization? And two, what's the unique number of visitors using that? So then we kind of have this idea of, how many employees is this really being utilized by? There's a lot of different options the city could pursue. We could look into having this employee supplement a part of this if we want to provide that service and say, if you're a selected employee, you pay a different cost for that service. At this point, it's been no bill to the employee, it's just included in the wellness that's in the grow well services. We could also then have a cap that says once these spots are taken, they're full and they're taken. Revere has to contract with their mental wellness counselor for the year out, so they need our decisions so they can know if they need to add staff or not add staff. So they make decisions based off of what we do, but they could adapt to whatever decision the city decides to take forward.
Does their history report anything like for the first, you'd say this is the first 2 years, is it usually high like this with numbers, and then does it come down eventually over the years?
I don't know if Revere really has any sort of knowledge or record of that. This was a new venture for them to get into. I could ask and we could try to follow up with some information on that.
Okay.
I think initially we expected to see not a spike and then a downturn. We expected to see that number continue to climb.
Okay.
And it's done what we anticipated.
So when you say unique visits, so like these could be like the 105, you could have 4 visits for one person, and then so it's not unique, it'd just be, but part of the 105 would be, do they keep track of that, the unique? Okay.
So they can tell us how many individuals are utilizing this service in this 105 visits. Is it you and I each going 50 times, or is it 105 people?
On the chart that has the unique users and then the no-shows, so like for instance 30 and then 10 no-shows, does that mean that there were 40 people? And
the 10 no-shows wouldn't be
does that include
the unique visit.
Okay, okay.
I asked them to include the unique users. Typically they show how many visits and how many no-shows there were.
Okay.
And so that the no-shows isn't tying to the unique visits. That's a separate element.
Okay.
And they right now don't bill us for no-shows. Some entities would. We'd have a no-show rate that they would assess anyway. Revere has, in our agreement right now, they kind of eat that cost. But we have seen an excessively high amount of no-shows, so that's another element that the city is reviewing to see if there's some sort of control mechanism we should put in when those no-shows occur. With this cost being kind of a higher cost per service visit, those no-shows have a greater impact to the budget than otherwise.
Yeah, they've really spiked in 2023, haven't they?
Well, because I know that they used to I don't know if it ever worked, maybe it didn't, but their appointment app, you could make an appointment or change appointments on there. Well, now, you do that on there, but it doesn't really communicate to them. And I didn't realize that before I had a health checkup, whatever, and it didn't communicate to them. But I do think that's an important part of them. If they're going to use an online service or use that app on your phone, that needs to be something that's working so that, otherwise take off the appointment things, off of there so that people can't.
And I can pass it along to our.
Yeah, because it doesn't, right now, you can't make appointments like where you used to. You have to call in, and that can take a couple of days to get somebody, so.
Well, and I will say too, on the mental wellness, on a regular sick visit, if somebody calls in the day before, they can usually find someone calling in sick that they fill. With mental wellness, it's usually 3 or 5 days. They would need to be able to
I see what you're saying.
kind of go adjust the plan for that. So they constitute a no-show as anyone cancels, I believe, 3 days before or 3 days prior to the appointment time. So it's capturing a little bit slightly range there than our normal 6 digits would.
As you consider the motion, I'd ask that you use the word solutions instead of services, and we'll make sure the minutes reflect that as well.
I'll make the motion to approve the addendum to the master service agreement with Revere Healthcare Solutions to continue mental wellness services.
I'll second.
Go ahead.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Jared.
Thank you, Jared. Item F, the governing body is asked to consider and approve a waiver to the Code of Ordinance, Section 62-12, to allow for the discharge of consumer fireworks within the city limits of Garden City, July 1st through July 5th, 2023, from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Chief.
The discharge of consumer fireworks within the city limits of Garden City has been a long-standing option for the citizens during the 4th of July holiday. Currently, the sales of fireworks in Finney County follows KAR 22-6-5, permitted dates of June 27th through July 5th. In 2022, the City Commission approved a waiver of the City Code of Ordinance, Section 62-12, allowing the discharge of consumer fireworks within the city limits during the days of July 1st through the 5th, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. In that time, GCFD responded to 36 calls within the city limits and 14 outside the city limits. Garden City Fire Department and Garden City Police Department each spent a significant amount of time canvassing fireworks stands, tents, and/or buildings, information in the hands of consumers regarding what is to be allowed to be discharged and authorized dates and times. GCFD and GCPD staff utilize social media campaigns heavily and canvass neighborhoods throughout the city, ensuring proper rules and regulations for discharging fireworks are understood and followed. In collaboration between GCFD and GCPD, conducting proactive patrolling and allowing for communication within the public has resulted in positive feedback from the community. Alternatives are approve the waiver of Ordinance 62-12, allowing the discharge of consumer fireworks within the city limits of Garden City during July 1st through 5th, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Approve a waiver of Ordinance 62-12, allowing consumer fireworks within the city limits from beginning dates of sales June 27th through July 5th, from the hours 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Do not approve the waiver ordinance and provide photo guidance. Staff recommends alternative 1.
Yeah, I move that we approve the waiver of Ordinance 62-12 to allow for the discharge of consumer fireworks within the city limits of Garden City, Kansas during the days of July 1st to July 5th, 2023, from 11 o'clock a.m. to 11 o'clock p.m.
I'll second.
He's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion?
What's the county doing on this? Are they sticking with the 27th through the 5th, or have they had discussion?
That was approved yesterday. The county commission was to rewrite the resolution banning fireworks this year in the county and allowing just discharge fireworks within the city limits of Garden City and over.
Okay.
And they were going to allow for the sale for the full complement of dates provided under state statute. Is that correct? Or, okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks.
Thank you.
Item G, the governing body is asked to consider and approve the real estate purchasing agreement for property located at 311 South 6th Street for $105,000. Jared?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. The City of Garden City evaluates opportunities to acquire property near Finna Park as they present themselves. The primary purpose for this is to strategically plan for the growth of the park and our future development of the area. Reviewing land acquisition opportunities and, on occasion, purchasing property has occurred through a customary process such as property being listed for sale. More often, if a property falls into a state of disrepair as a result of vacancy or absentee ownership, the city has reached out to the property owner to gauge the level of interest in selling it. When the city does purchase property, this is funded by taxing and non-taxing sources and occasional grant awards by the Finna Foundation. The property at 311 South 6th Street is zoned residential. A house that's built on that is not occupied and is in a state of considerable disrepair. The lot is reported by the Finney County Appraiser's Office to be approximately 150 by 140 feet and appraises the value of the land and building at $100,760. The property is bordered by South 6th Street to the east and oversized and landscape Finnett Drive right-of-way to the south. The property is one that staff believes is strategically located for consideration of future park expansion, and should a future city commission determine that they wish to not expand Finnett Park, it is a large enough lot that would be attractive for a residential redevelopment. Now, there's three alternatives for the governing body to choose from. Alternative number one, the governing body may approve the real estate purchasing agreement for $105,000 and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement. Alternative number two, the governing body may deny the real estate purchasing agreement for $105,000. And alternative number three, the governing body may give staff further direction. It is staff's recommendation that the governing body to approve the real estate purchasing agreement for $105,000 and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement. The fiscal note on this project is the cost of land acquisition will be split between three funds. $15,000 will come from the Finnett Trust Fund, another $15,000 will come from the general fund, capital improvement, and the $75,000 will come from special recreation and parks fund. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I move that we approve the real estate purchasing agreement for $105,000 and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item H, the governing body is asked to consider and approve an appointment to the Cultural Relations Board.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. The Cultural Relations Board has one open board position. Kendall Carswell has submitted an application to be considered for an available board member position. His application was presented and reviewed by the CRB at the regular scheduled meeting on April 3rd. Kendall is a professor at Fort Hays State University. He previously worked at Kearney County Hospital and spent a lot of time working with immigrants and refugees from across the world, providing support services, not only to improve their health, but also to improve the health of the community in both Kearney County and Finney County. While Kendall currently teaches at Fort Hays State University, he resides in Garden City, and his research and work outside of the university has been working with immigrants and refugees. So the alternatives are the governing body may approve the appointment of Kendall Carswell to the CRB through December 2025. The governing body may deny the appointment of Kendall Carswell to the CRB, or the governing body may give staff further directions. And the CRB recommends approving the appointment of Kendall Carswell.
Yeah, I move that we approve the appointment of Kendall Carswell to the Cultural Relations Board through December 2025. He's an excellent choice.
I second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I was going to also discuss that he's a very good, that'll be a very good addition to that board. That's exciting to see him join that. Yep.
Yep, it is. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item I, the governing body is asked to consider and approve an appointment to the Traffic Advisory Committee. Mike?
Yes, Mayor and Commissioners, Gary Benda, who's an engineer with the Kansas Department of Transportation. His current 3-year term on the Traffic Advisory Committee will expire on June 30th of 2023, and he has stated that he would like to be considered for another term. Gary's been very active on the Traffic Advisory Committee, and he currently serves as chairman. And at present time, when this was put into the works here, we had no other applications we had received. This would be to just reappoint Gary to the same term. We did receive an application just last week, and that will probably be brought to you at the next meeting. So the alternatives here is the governing body may reappoint Gary Bennett to serve a 3-year term on the Traffic Advisory Committee with the term expiring June 30th of 2026, or the governing body may appoint whomever it chooses to the Traffic Advisory Board, and staff has no recommendation or there's no fiscal impact. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
I move to reappoint Gary Bennett to serve a 3-year term to the Traffic Advisory Committee with the term expiring June 30th, 2026.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody need a break before we start budget?
Yeah.
You do?
Should we take
5-minute recess?
5 minutes? Yeah. We'll recess for 5 minutes, coming back at 2:18. Good. Talk about the budget.
Welcome back. Welcome to another year of budgeting. So what I plan to do is kind of hit the highlights, hit the big ticket item, the things that stand out that are maybe outside of the norm or noteworthy. At the end, if there's any questions about anything, I would be open to answering those, but rather than go through every line and every budget and hit the detail, I'll kind of just hit the standouts. So we'll start with bond and interest. What I'll note here is that the 2023 revised numbers for the debt service, interest, and principal matches the documentation you've been provided for our GO bond schedules. The 2024 amount includes what would be an estimated increase for a 10-year bond for $5 million in projects this year. We have some projects identified. The East Side Pedestrian Pathway, the Kansas Avenue widening are two that we've given the green light to move forward on, and we have assistance funding from the state on both of those. And so the commission has approved that those are endeavors we want to go down, continue, but the funding would likely be a GO bond. So we've identified those, and then right now, kind of have it tagged for cemetery expansion for the other portion of that. So you see a number is representative of a $5 million GO bond issuance this year to kind of paint the picture ahead of time what we're looking like. Okay. Also, just to kind of recap an assumption, when you look at the ad valorem tax and the motor vehicle taxes on this fund, and then when we get to airport and general fund, we won't get the real budgeted educated guesses from the county until later in the year, and in March or in May, and then in June for the ad valorem amount. And so we've made assumptions of a 3% increase over last year's property valuation. And so we hashed it where the debt service got what it needed, airport got what it needed, and then the general fund gets the kind of the piece that's left as we do our initial budget assumption. So this gets to a net zero cash forward into 2025, which is what the state budget would require of us. But these numbers for the taxes may vary once we get those actual estimates from the county. Any questions on debt service in particular?
You said you have a $5 million GO bond is what you're going to recommend for this year?
At this point, that's kind of the holding number that we're putting into the budget. This one will be one we'd likely bring back and have adjustments that we present the final clear picture on later in the budget cycle. But yes. All right, the next fund is the TIF fund. Most of the revenues and expenses here have to do with our HIDs and the TIFs and the CIDs, and it's revenue that we get, and then we kick back to those developers as long as they've submitted the approved reimbursements. What I'll note here is the tax distribution for Garden City, the top portion. That is the amount that comes in for the bonds for the Shulman Crossing development the city did. And as of December 31st, 2022, there are about $9.8 million in revenues in the life of this to $8.5 million in expenses. So we're about $1.3 million ahead of schedule. And looking ahead, we expect that we will likely be able to pay those off completely probably approximately 4 years early, which will be out 2031 instead of the 2035 that was initially. So definitely doing well there. That's just a noteworthy element that then we would end that TIF early and that property tax valuation, then go back to the assessing property tax entities. Next is the Community Trust Reserve. You'll notice that this fund typically carries about a balance of $2 million. One of our indications of whether we have a financial emergency is that this fund is carrying that balance, or if we've expensed it, that it was intended to do so. This was used in 2023 to purchase property, so that $2.18 million cost in 23 revised is for the purchase there. And the anticipated, I don't have it included here, I'll make an adjustment, but the sale of that land would be the reimbursing revenue that then builds back up the Community Trust Reserve. Should by next year's budget cycle that not transpire, we would then build a mechanism to start to rebuild this Community Trust Reserve fund back up from general fund or some other funding mechanism to get back to that $2 million cash forward that we typically hold on to. The next is special traffic. I'll note here the transfer other funds of $425,000. This is an anticipated reimbursement from the GO bond issuance funds will do. This fund is paying for the early engineering for and design for the East Side pedestrian pathways and the Candace Avenue project, and so those costs have begun, and so this is paying them now, and then the costs will be reimbursed once that GO bond goes through. And so that $425,000 revenue, along with the engineering fees in 2023 for $425,000, are going to be just a kind of a wash when all the dust settles on that. But this is the fund that we elected to take the initial costs from. And then I'll just kind of indicate the $325,000 in the new equipment streets is an uptick above kind of normal, but that's for, there's an excavator, the wheeled excavator that they acquired this year. That's for the lease on that. They're also looking at adding a couple different traffic trucks that will be pickups, as well as some trucks that will have the container spreader and plow attachments to continue to renew the fleet and make sure we have trucks that are serviceable. So those are a little higher than the historical last couple of years, but it's keeping the fleet up to date. Next, we will jump to special improvements. Nothing really noteworthy here. This is typically the funds that come in and out for weed cutting and if we have to take care of issues with code enforcement. Cemetery endowment is the next one. We'll notice that there's $50,000 in 23 revised and $100,000 set aside for cemetery improvement here. That's going towards the singing tower, or potentially a portion of that will go towards the cemetery expansion project that we're looking at doing the end of this year into next year. Special recreation and parks, kind of noteworthy change would be the $70,000 in new equipment golf for more robot mowers for the Buffalo Dunes. They've worked really well. Clay and his team have spoken really highly of the experiment that we've done out there with that robot mower. So we're going to be adding more to the fleet there, and they hope to have those fairly well automated. It'll cut down on staff costs, it'll cut down on time and equipment costs, where they usually typically have specialized mowers for each different function of the golf course. This one robot can do it all. And so adding, I can't remember the number exactly, but it's adding a fleet this year and next year to hopefully get to where most of those holes will have their own robot or two to take care of the hole. So cool thing that they're doing. Next is the special alcohol and drug abuse. This is what typically gets distributed out for the AFAC funding, and there's no significant change to practice there. The FinUp Trust, you had the item in the agenda today for the award that we were granted this year. They allocated that out to the zoo projects and park projects typically for FinUp, as well as the FinUp Center. And they did have a discretionary amount this year that will be used for part of that land acquisition we approved today as well. Next is risk management. This is pretty typical as well. We get transfers in from a couple different funds that then subsidize if the city has a deductible to meet for any claim or settlement amount here. Drug enforcement, as well as DEA forfeiture. We've seen a trend the last few years that the funding from this doesn't come in as much as it used to once upon a time. When we do get funds from these seizures, it typically goes towards equipment that specifically goes back towards that function. So that's where the budget is allocated for. If there was a bump and we saw a seizure amount come in, that could increase, but expectations would be that this continues to deplete down and probably ultimately goes away or just doesn't have a lot of activity in the future. Community development loan, this is used for those loans available to citizens if they're going to make improvements on their homes. Again, this has been a program that hasn't been greatly or highly utilized the last few years, and so it's a pretty small amount budgeted as far as the loan payments and if that contract amount were to go out to a citizen. If there's usage, it's based upon a reimbursement level where that money comes back in and supplements the fund to be able to offer that service to other citizens.
Is this sidewalks, the sidewalk, if people do sidewalks?
I believe this is like windows and
home insulation.
Home insulation. Mm-hmm. Next is the emergency shelter grant. This is a grant that the city was administering, but was more of a pass-through that we would administer to housing. But the grant changed to where the recipients can now go receive it themselves, and we don't play middleman. And so in 23, the last dispensements of the allocation from the prior year grant will be dispensed, and then this fund will pretty much have no activity going forward. Economic Development Loan, these are the CDBG funds and the loans that were given out during COVID. We've had a lot of activity the last couple of years of this because a lot of amounts were given out during that time. In practice, 2023 should be finishing up those loan repayment terms. Most of the loans that were provided will pay back or have already paid back in 2023. The ones that have a budget amounts in 2024 are behind schedule, and so there's work being done with our partners to get those back on track. But that's why those are lingering. Otherwise, it would really be the kind of a wait until there's another event that would require us to use these funds for that. Enhanced Wireless 911, these are the cell phone amounts that come in for the E911, specifically going towards communications dispatch equipment. There's a portion in the 2024 requested amount, the $250,000 is going towards the equipment, the radio equipment that would be on a mobile command unit. The city received some grant funding in the amount of $500,000 to go towards a mobile command unit, and using the $250,000 of E911 will help to supplement that to get a more robust unit. So that is the plan for that $250,000 in 2024, and that goes before a panel to be approved, any expense that goes through E911, and it's already been submitted, and they've signed off that would be an appropriate expense for this. Next is the general fund grants. So you'll see there's the ARPA, the SPARK, and the FEMA. These all go back to 2020 and 2021. And as I said in the item for the mental wellness services, there's a small amount remaining of ARPA funds of $29,702, and then approximately $48,000 under the FEMA award we had received back. And so that full amount can be expensed in 2023 for mental wellness, and then this fund will be closed as well, or dormant until some future activity. Next is the HIDA grant. This is pretty run-of-the-mill for the program. We receive funding from the state to assist with a specific officer to work for the HIDA. And so this trends with what history has shown us. Next is housing. This is where they're paying their their payment in lieu of taxes, and building that fund up in anticipation of some capital need down the road that we would then hold the money for regarding the Housing Commission. Project development, the only major standout here is $170,000 budgeted for 2024. This would go towards development incentives. We have the Woodmont development incentives as well as some remaining from Shulman Crossing that this could help to pay down should those outlots be developed and that incentive be cashed in. Project Safe Neighborhood, also typical with history. There's an amount we receive every year. We typically expense just within the bounds of the grant that we receive. Typically goes towards new equipment or some travel and training expense for an officer. Opioid settlements is new. We spoke about this a little bit we did our amended budget, but these are settlement funds received from the class action opioid settlements that are ongoing. I have amounts budgeted in 24 for the descriptions listed for the settlements that have already occurred. It's unlikely we actually receive an amount for those again, but not knowing what settlements would come through in 24, it was a way to put numbers in there that we would anticipate we still continue to see some revenue from this. These will be specifically tied towards equipment or functions of addressing the opioid crisis in our area. And so we're still working with our city attorney's office to make sure that before we expense any of these, that we know exactly what we're going to use it for and that it's an approved expense to make sure there's no issues we run into with that on the road. So we're in kind of a mindset of hold this until we have very clear direction on what it can be used for, but then we'll go put it towards the police department, continue that endeavor. And then our capital improvement plan is another new one. This is where we're going to build this capital improvement fund and have the city gross revenues into its own fund to pay our own financing on capital improvements projects rather than go to a financing mechanism somewhere else. The first amounts were transferred in are allocated for the software programming that we're building right now for the financial modules as well as the utility billing. And then the future transfers in for 2023 and 2024 for $500,000 are kind of placeholder amounts to transfer amounts from general fund departments in to cover their capital projects that we would identify. This would be continued to kind of be built to have a larger cash balance to be able to produce interest revenues basically back from the city to itself rather than to an outside entity for financing. And as we identify the clearer picture on the CIP, we'll come back to the commission with those, and that would kind of clear up the numbers here for the CIP fund amounts as well. Next is health insurance. I want to speak to this one a little bit with you. This has been a fund that has changed a little bit in the past, how we've administered some of the mechanism for covering the city's portion for health insurance. And so I've been visiting with Matt and our consultant, Bob Charlesworth, on some of the plan mechanisms we use. With us adding the mental wellness services to the health insurance fund, it's going to have a larger cost for the clinic operational costs. You'll see that 2023 amount is due to the overages we're expecting for the mental wellness capacity we have. And then in 2024, that is the full cost of that annual mental wellness services being included there. That's after the ARPA funding will no longer cover. And so an adjustment that we've made in our budgeting process this year is to increase the city's portion for employees per month from $820 to $850. And so in the initial information in your binder, the assumption was $820 in 2023 and $820 in 2024. When we come back with general fund and some of those budgeted funds, you'll see that that number has shifted to $850, and there's an impact there. The theory behind the logic of our discussion being that that would cover more or less that cost of the mental wellness services that the city endeavors to say, this is something we think we want to provide at the cost of the city. That would be the bridge gap there. And then the additional cost of increases and in Blue Cross costs or the premium costs would continue to be where the city's portion stays relatively the same, and any increases shift to the employees' side. That's been the theory, that's been the mechanism we've used in the past. We're doing some adjustments to making sure our numbers are right and how we incorporate all of those, and that is practicing. We're in practice doing what our plan has been, but that 820 has been the same number the city has put for quite some time. Cost in health insurance we've seen continue to rise, and it has been where that increment has come to the employees. Historically, there was a time where the city's portion was well above and beyond what was necessary. The city indicated what their percent of this employee share was, and any balance was transferred to the health insurance reserve, and that's why that reserve was able to be built up. If there was excess there, it would sometimes kick back to the general fund to subsidize the transfer there. Our goal is to make it less of a transferring around and more of a clear indication of this is what's absolutely necessary. We're going to transfer that in as the city's portion, and it covers what the city obligates and dictates as its piece, with the overage going to then the employees and being clear every year. This is somewhat of a confusing concept. I'm hoping I'm explaining it clear enough. But I do think that we will have a plan that comes back to the commission that can paint the picture a little clearer once we get our estimates this year from Blue Cross. We typically present those to employees, to the city manager's internal standing committee, and then take them to the staff, and they look at what those changes are going to look like, what the increases are going to look like. There may be some additional presentation this year to talk through where that plan is and how the city's portion plays into that, and we would be able to provide that to the commission at the time as well. You will see that there was initially a 23 budgeted amount for $610,500 for a transfer from the health insurance reserve. We've split that more across the next 2 years, and the idea being that as we shift some of that mental wellness services in, and the clinic costs increased last year. If you remember, we increased the amount of employees they're serving, so they've increased some of that cost as well. While we kind of find our landing spot on the city's percentage versus the employee's percentage, that $300,000 transfer will kind of bridge the gap there so that it's not a one-time spike for employees that then really is a high burden, trying to kind of ease the pain a little bit of that programming. Any questions on this? I know that's a little more than the rest of them as far as details or changes to normal.
When do those costs come? When does Blue Cross and Blue Shield get you those costs?
Mr. Charlesworth typically tries to get preliminary numbers in June, but we don't really have a clear number until closer to August. It's kind of right before we get to open enrollment. It's kind of where we get a real final number from Blue Cross on that estimate. And we've seen anywhere from 0.5% to 8% to 10%. I mean, it totally varies on a lot of different factors, so it's hard to predict what that will be. The assumptions built in typically account for a higher than normal expense increase in that health insurance premium, typically 4 to 6% is what our preliminary kind of estimations that we've built our scales that we're kind of trying to get a hypothesis of what it will be, we use a 6% number. Next, you have the health insurance reserve. The only transaction here is those $300,000 transfers out to cover that shortfall. And should it be that when all the pieces fall together, that's not fully needed, we wouldn't take the full $300,000. It would be it's a placeholder to account for up to that amount. But last year we had a higher amount that we took, not the full amount of, and I think we'd probably follow that same practice if possible. Next is workers' compensation. This one we saw an uptick in our 2023 premium cost. We've had some higher than normal claims the last couple of years. They kind of lag. We typically don't see the expense of that in that year. It takes a year or two. And this is from the KMIT pool that we're a part of. So we expect our 23 revised budget goes up to the $440,000. That is closer to the actual number we have for 2023. This is typically paid out in the first of the year, right, in January. And we would expect that next year it will be very similar to that, if not increased. So we increased it slightly in our projection for the budget here. And so this is another one where historically the last few years we have we have 1,180 budgeted per employee in our budget right now. It's been less than that in prior years, but this spike would indicate that we need to increase that percentage or that portion that comes in. And then the last one is the workers' compensation reserve, and this is there's typically small claims that come out of here that this amount is available and has been fairly consistent for many years. And that's it. Short and sweet, hopefully not too bad.
That was pretty good.
Happy to answer any questions that anyone has on any of the budgets thus far.
I don't have any.
All right.
Good job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There's 2 executive sessions on the agenda. We can conclude with those. There's not anticipated to be any action following those, so that put us in position to consider the consent agenda, and if there aren't items that you'd like to pull off and discuss separately, the appropriate motion would be to approve items M1 through 6.
I move to approve the consent agenda items M1 through 6.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Just want to go to staff report, or
Yeah, we'll just go right
staff
to
reports.
commission reports.
I just want to congratulate Bob Arliano, Tony Hurtado, and Junior Salinas, getting those state awards and doing, it's great to have those gentlemen recognized for the great work that they do. And there was a plethora of proclamations today for this month. So congratulations to the mayor getting through all those proclamations.
I know, I got my steps in too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Saw your words.
Great, I did.
Spring is here, and we start to seeing a lot of construction projects going on around the community. So just be mindful of the workers out and about, and working either around the roads in our community. Notice that the skate park's really starting to come together. Hopefully, we'll see that opening up pretty soon. But a lot of great things going on in our community. Just wanted to mention that I did file for re-election, and will be running again for another term for City Commission. And if anybody else is interested, filings are open until June 1st. Just go and visit with the county clerk on that. And that's all I've got. And it ends at noon on June 1st. Thank you. That's all I've got.
All right, Commissioner Ortiz.
Yeah, just echoing Commissioner Cessna on the awards and what those guys have done. So that's tremendous, and it shows what Garden City has for professionals. So just extending that congratulations. Also to staff, providing information that you do for us to review. Jared, thanks for the review on the budget. We couldn't do this without you guys, so you guys make it look easy for us. So thank you for all the information you put out. Just one other thing I got is today's Garden City High School softball, because I have 2 daughters playing. They start at 3 versus Dodge City, so
hustle.
Hopefully not in Dodge.
No, they're here. So they're here in Garden City at the Tangeman Complex, so go out and support. Thanks.
Commissioner Dick?
Thought we had a good pre-meeting today. Thanks for all the work that went into getting that and from all the staff. And there are times where you think, well, is it worth to continue to work with other organizations? But I mean, these are the things that, I mean, it's not always the easiest thing to work with other organizations, but that's what we do is we continue to work and find solutions. And it takes a lot of work ahead of time, but then when we get that solved and worked out, it's better for the citizens all around. So good discussions about where we have some sticking points and stuff like that. And I know that we'll get together and figure out a solution that works best for our citizens. So really good pre-meeting that was a little bit longer than normal, but still really good. Wanted to say thanks to the Finn Foundation again for the great support of the community, especially with the new Southeast Park. That's looking really good, the contributions that they do to the zoo and everything. So thanks to that organization and Carolee and Amy and everybody over there. I want to point out that sales tax, even though the distribution to the city is about flat, if you look at the part that's the total collection and not just what's distributed, so you may have to take out like the Starbond part and all that stuff, we're actually up compared to last year at this time 18%, which is a huge number of being up. So that's good to see that we continue to be strong in that category. And then also I'd like to just thank everybody who takes the minutes for all those meetings and gets them in the packets. There's a lot of things, because that's almost the things that I read the most completely through is those minutes, because that's our only window into a lot of those organizations and all those different committees. So I really appreciate the time that it takes for the people to type up the minutes, because I know that's not fun to do at all. So that's all I got for today.
All right, Commissioner Unruh.
So I just wanted to, Commissioner Cessna talked about the rain and the moisture. It was incredible. I mean, Garden City looks so green, and it's beautiful out. And so, and then the days have been, we're actually having a long spring. Well, I guess longer than sometimes we have. But just really making sure you're getting outdoors. I mean, all the trails have been really, really well done. And the park was down there the other day and really nice. So if you've not been out and about a lot of our parks, we have tremendous parks. I'm excited about the skate park and also Southeast Community Park. It's really looking nice. Again, I just want to echo Commissioner Dick about the Finnip Foundation. I know that the Finnips, when they invested in Garden City, they did it in perpetuity. And so I'll tell you, gifts like this, I mean, have been coming year after year after year. And I really appreciate their foresight and also just their wisdom, I mean, and what they're giving back to the city. I know that I like to do alley runs, and so there's a lot of ruts in the alleys. So just because of the rain, and so rain brings a lot of other things. So I mean, just be careful if I know some of the trucks are heavy, and I don't think it's just the trash trucks, but there's some alleys with some pretty deep ruts. The only other thing I want to mention, I had a couple of, I did want to say congratulations to Tony and Junior and Bob. What an incredible accomplishment. And they can sweep the awards every year. That's okay with us. We're more than happy about that. The only other thing is I was contacted by a couple of truck drivers or people who own trucks, and I guess allegedly that they no longer can park in certain places. I know one is at the TA Center unless you're purchasing fuel from them, and I know there's no longer at the Country Corner. But I don't know where we stand on parking semi-trucks in the city, and I said I would check and find out about that. But right now there's really no place for them to park outside the city limits. And so they said they feel like it's a danger bringing them inside the city, and I do too, just because of the size, and I don't know if they can be parked on the street or not. I don't think so.
They cannot.
Yeah, so I said I don't think that's going to be an option for you. But they were asking if there was any places that we had allocated or places that were designated that they could park, that were not on their property. So. Okay, with that, if that's something if we can consider or think about what that looks like. Other than that, a really great meeting, and I really appreciate all the art committee and the grants, some really neat things about to happen. So that's all.
All right, thank you. Thanks to Danielle for the pre-meeting this morning. I know that was a lot of work to put together, and it was a nice way to sort of spur some discussion and some thinking about those, future steps for working together, but thank you for all your hard work into that. Also, yes, thank you to, or congratulations to Tony Hurtado, Bob Arellano, and Junior Salinas. It's pretty great. I agree. It's nice to sweep those awards, and it just goes to show, we've got such great people who work for the city and do hard work like that every day, but it's also nice when there's that recognition at that level. And so to me, it just reinforces when you make a good hire, you really do make good hires. Had a very nice time in Washington, D.C. with the Western Kansas delegation, Commissioner Ortiz and Matt and Danielle, and of course we had Rochelle from the airport, and it was a nice opportunity to be able to get in front of our national delegation, get some briefings on some of the issues that are happening, be able to connect and ask those questions with the staffers. But I also want to thank Micah at the Chamber for organizing all of that. It was Garden City's turn this year to organize a trip, and she and Shonda did just an amazing job of making sure that we knew where we were going and that we were well taken care of. And so I know it's quite a big undertaking, and so I appreciate all the stuff that they did. I also had an opportunity to attend the fundraiser that Mosaic had last week for their organization. And then I also wanted to thank Nolan for the good job that he did for Arbor Day, with the Arbor Day proclamation. It rained for 2 days prior to that, and we knew we had this coming up, and so I kept thinking, you can't really have Arbor Day inside. You could plant a tree later, but it's not the same thing. And so, we had that one day of grace, and it worked out perfectly. So thanks to Nolan for that. I also had a chance to attend the Real Men, Real Leaders banquet. Again, another nonprofit that does a lot of really good work in our community. And then I also went to the K-State Community Open Forum last week, and had a chance to hear and give some insight into some of their initiatives. And I know that it was well attended. They had many different sessions throughout the day, and so it was just nice that they come out here and ask for our opinions. And we hope that some of the stuff that we said to them actually makes it into the final piece of it. So with that, I know that we have executive sessions.
2 executive sessions, and ask you, and again, there's no... one of them is for personnel matters, non-elected personnel. That's specifically for the purpose of my evaluation. That's item K. And then L is an executive session under the attorney-client privilege exemption and for the purpose of...
The first one is for pending litigation.
Pending litigation. So if we could take L prior to K, and then we'll have Channel 8 and our Facebook feed shut down, because there won't be any action after that. So the first one would be item L, and the specific purpose would be pending litigation.
And for how long?
I think